Angela Lee going to be taking on the Panda. Now, guys, I brought you a whole breakdown on this. Told you everything everything's on the line, but I got asked a lot of questions. I tell you, I read the comments, and here's what they were wanting to know. Chael, what's going to be different in this fight? Now, people were re-quoting me because I will always come and say, if you're going to do a rematch, you have to be able to answer one question. What's going to be different? Now, whatever your answer is fine. It could have been your training. It could have been your preparation. It might be your opportunity to lay out your excuse for the last one. But you must have an answer to that question, right? We're going to do the same thing over again, and we're going to expect something different. What's it going to be? Now, it gets very fascinating for me, right? Like the X's and O's, I don't break those down very often, but I do find them very interesting. I'm constantly trying to learn. And I was one of the people that they marketed to way back in 1993, when the world first got introduced to mixed fights. What style works the best and why? And that evolution, I mean, I got it. Boom, put my finger, I've got it. Well, about 5 years later, that went out and another one came in. So you always have your mind open. And I'm always looking for different philosophies. But there is a very big difference in a workman style fighter. Now, this is what I'm going to call the Panda. The Panda truly reminds me of 2005 Wanderlei Silva. Is that she is going to walk you down. And she has a lot of intentions, and they're all bad. I don't hit you to test my range. I don't spin around feeling out. I don't slip my cross in there to get your attention. Everything is to destroy you. Everything. Lead hand, I'm looking to break your nose. Backhand, I'm trying to put you down. That doesn't work. I'm going to throw it again. I'm going to throw it again. She cuts the ring off. She stays in your face, and she's not afraid to take a punch. Now, that's a tough mindset. You've probably heard other people say that. I'll take two to deliver one. You'll hear people say that, but you have a hard time finding the guy. I mean, of all of boxing's history, George Foreman definitely fit that bill. George Foreman would take 2 or 3 just to get one, and he would even the score or come out ahead with that one. But he was a tough guy. He was willing to take that. You don't see it very often. And you do see it with the Panda. Now, hold on. And I'm going to bring the Panda. I'm putting her like this working class territory. I hear that term thrown out there. Where you're real basic, right? You're dig to the body, cut them off, do it again, look to hurt, keep your conditioning, manage your energy. It's one of these things. But that never stops winning championships. Never. It is the basics that win championships. The fancy stuff will get you some oohs and ahs. And when it works, you look great and you can end up on a highlight reel. Now, this is my opinion. Many people have a different school of thought that they think the more dynamic fighter is better. The more options and tools you have, the more versatile you are. Now, again, that's a philosophy that from my time of 1993 to today, I did touch on. I just didn't stay there because it proved to not be true. We started to see the value in a specialist who didn't have equal skills. If that athlete does 4 things well and they're all 25%, and that's what makes them up, we've then seen them and there was somebody that's got an understanding. They got 8% in this and 4% in this, but they got 90% in something else, and the specialists have started to take back over. I don't know how long that will last. Khabib, the king of that, has stepped aside, but he says that he's got his heir apparent in Islam, who everybody Islam's beat. He has taken them down and bludgeoned them. Israel Adesanya has never been to the ground. Alex Pereira has never been to the ground. I'm just offering you guys examples. Francis Ngannou was the champion of the world and hit his first takedown in his last contest. I'm offering you examples before you try to push back. The specialist is back on top, but nobody knows the formula. Do I need 10%, right? I'm putting it on a scale of 1 to 100. Think of a pie here. Do I need 10% in boxing? Do I need 30% in jiu-jitsu? Like, trying to get that formula is tough, and nobody really tries to do it. They still default back to going into a gym and learning a little bit of everything. And that's not a bad system. I'm not against that. It's just not what we have here. The Panda has bad intentions. She's going to cut you off. She shows up in shape. You think 3 rounds is the problem? You think 5 rounds is the problem? You've got the wrong girl. She's going to be a pain in your ass. Now, her opponent, Angela. Okay, because it's a great juxtaposition. Angela is dynamic. You want to know another fight that's going on that simulates this one? But it's Jake Paul versus Anderson Silva. It's a big question that people have. Jake Paul's got a couple of flinches, and he's got hard shots. And he's only throwing a jab, a cross, an uppercut, and a hook. It's the only things that are even legal. He's got 4 shots. They all got to be above the waist. I mean, this is a pretty straightforward fight, but he's going to be taking on a guy in Anderson who's very dynamic, who will make you look, who will make you guess. And that's what I see in Angela, right? I don't see any martial artist that really values the martial arts. And like, that's a philosophy, that's a system. I mean, that's a thing. It's not my thing. I roll with the Panda in terms of style. Get out there and be tough. This is not a martial arts anything. This is a cage fight, but that's a philosophy. It's a theory that I gravitated towards. Angela on her feet specifically. See, it's the stand-up parts of these fights. If you went and watched matches 1 and 2, and now you're asking me what's going to be different in 3. If you watch the stand-up specifically, Angela, like all martial artists, hey, you got a little karate background? Yeah, you bet. Hey, do any taekwondo? Yeah, several years. Okay, you got any Muay Thai? Decade of it. I mean, she checks all these boxes, but the martial artists will always do one thing. It is a commonality that they will all do, which is they'll put an emphasis in the setup. So you'll have guys fight. I'll just throw some names that you know. Roy Jones Jr. throughout every match he had in the 90s. Anderson Silva. Go back to him when he was on his run. Israel Adesanya right now. They will get mislabeled and miscategorized from people that don't understand. They'll get called cocky. They'll get called unsportsmanlike. They'll say they were showboating. They were clowning their opponent. I don't even know who came up with the word clowning, by the way. Like, if you find yourself saying that, you're a dork, just so you understand. But this is the things that setup guys will have said about them. They're not doing any of those things. Anderson was never disrespecting Chris Weidman, not once. Or Damian Maia or any other opponent who's trying to set him up. Adesanya does those things right now. He'll talk to you partway through. He'll shake his foot this way so he can hit you with a cross. Right? I mean, this is old school stuff if you followed fighting long enough. Sugar Ray Leonard, who's my favorite fighter of all time, but he would take a bad rap. Sugar Ray would come in front of a guy, and he would show him a hand and then hit him with the other one. And as cool as that might sound, people hated, they thought it was rude. And Sugar Ray would show you the hand, and then he'd hit you with the other one. And then he'd show you the hand, and he'd hit you with the other one. Then he'd show you the hand, and he'd hit you with that one. And it was awesome. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The Ali shuffle. Right? Ali wasn't out there doing, he was trying to get you to freeze. He's trying to get you to look. Whoa, he shuffles. Oh, what's he doing? Boom, boom. And that's where he hits you. That's the opening. That's the setup. But all martial artists will have an emphasis on that. They can never get going until the setup happens. It's muscle memory. Once you have that, you can't do anything different. And I only bring that to you because if you watch those first 2 fights, now Angela liked how she was doing on her feet. The Panda liked how she was doing on her feet. They both were doing damage. They both were scoring. But anytime you're dealing with the martial arts, you got to watch for that setup. Instead of freezing, instead of getting worried when you see it, boom, right down the middle. There was an old video game, just to give you guys a great example, because you might have played it. It was called Mike Tyson's Knockout. And there was a guy you had to fight called Manute Ball. And you got to get past Bull. But Bull would do a shake. He would do a shake, boom, boom, then he would come and knock you out. You got to kick him. I apologize. You had to punch him in the belly when he did the shake. That's real. That's in real life, that's what you got to do. As soon as you see that set go, all the setup and all the cocky and arrogant and the clowning, all they're looking for is for you to freeze, disguise. What's he going to do? A millisecond, a tenth of a second. That's all they need. Boom, boom. But they will not strike you until they do the setup and see the reaction they're looking for. So, much like in that video game, when you see the setup and you hit them in the belly, they're now resetting. It's not going to be, okay, here's what we did, and now I'm firing my attack. No, they'll reset. They'll reset their feet. They'll go back to another setup. They'll look one more time for the reaction. Then they'll come. They will do all of that calculation, all that geometry and calculus that I just laid out for you. They will do in a tenth of a second. But they will do it. They can't stop. Anderson will never come out and attack you until he gives you a look first. Never. Doesn't have him, not going to change for the Jake Paul fight. Can't do it. Once you learn that, right? You're set in your ways. So if the guy can just see the setup and respond instead of freeze, he will reset the opponent. Now, you want to know what's going to be different. When they got to the ground, Angela looked to be more seasoned. I don't want to go much further than that because I don't like a narrative that if it goes to the ground, it goes Angela's way. I don't like that. I think that's rude. I think that's rude to the Panda. By the way, and I also think it's inaccurate. I think your eyes lied to you in the first two, if that's the conclusion that you came away with. That really is what I think. But Angela, don't ever forget this, is a state champion women's wrestler. Competitive wrestling. Wrestling, right? You're standing up on your feet. If you're now on the ground, the person that made the decision to take you there out-wrestled you. That's the only thing wrestling comes in handy for. It can get a person down. Other than that, throw everything out. You're either 10 years in the practice room, you wasted your time, except for getting a person into that area. Very helpful. And Angela did not force that with an urgency. I read a review of this fight that said Angela could not take the Panda down until the 5th round. That is not what I saw. That is not what I saw. I didn't see Angela try to take her down. Angela liked the way the fight was going on the feet, and for good reason. She might have been winning it. It was very competitive. The Panda liked the way the fight was going on the feet, and for good reason. She was landing a lot of shots. It was very competitive. She might have been winning. I don't know. If that would have gone to the judges, that would have been a mess. Truly would have been a mess. It was competitive on the feet. And Angela didn't have an urgency until she thought the contest wasn't going her way, and I've got to put her in another realm. And I only bring that to you because if a person doesn't ever go for a takedown, you cannot tell me that their takedowns failed. If you go for 2 takedowns and the second one got you down, hell, you're at 50%. That's a pretty good takedown rate. And you want to know what's going to be different in this fight? I'm going to offer you that. Angela's going to look for those takedowns. She's going to have more of an urgency. She's going to have more of a confidence. She's going to look for them earlier. But I believe the Panda knows that. I don't think old Chael's the only one sitting over here realizing what your opponent was likely to have learned from those first 2 fights. I think the Panda knows it. And it does create opportunity. Anytime a person extends themselves, it doesn't matter if they're going for a shot or they're throwing a punch. When those hands leave their face, they're not protected. Now it's the Panda's job to exploit that.